Thinking ahead. That's the headline of a recent blog posted by Sebastian Schäfer, one of the lead economists of the World Bank. And he is arguing that if we're strategic now about policies and our actions, we can achieve a short-term recovery of the economy in the crisis, but also set the foundation towards a long-term future and more sustainability. So looking at numbers like the over $2 trillion in the US, I think it's now very important to exactly discuss how and where we allocate these resources. One interesting discussion, for example, is the recovery of the oil industry. On the one hand, critics say that we should not help and recover an industry that failed to tackle climate change and might harm us in the future when it comes to climate change. On the other hand, the oil industry is responsible for thousands of jobs in the US, and not helping that industry would lead to a massive amount of unemployment and also poverty. So I think by that example, we see that it's not that easy to decide, and it's a quite complex discussion. Still, I think we should now ask ourselves even more, what are business models and industry that we should invest into with the money that is now freed up to set the foundation of a more sustainable future? I think a great story that I always have in mind when I discuss certain topics like that and have this discussion is the story of Ray Anderson. Ray Anderson was the CEO and founder of Interface, which is an industrial corporate company from the US. So thinking about of waste, high energy consumption, but also logistics efforts, I think industrial corporates are not the first product that come to your head when we talk about environment friendly. This is exactly what Ray Anderson was thinking by himself in 1994, so long before where we were discussing circular economy, for example. By that time, he was questioning the long-term purpose of his company and made a drastic change of his strategy and set the mission of becoming climate neutral until 2020. So last year, Interface announced that they achieved that mission, and they even more, beside the environmental aspect, they become an industry leader and also pivoted economically massively. So I think that is a great example and story of a bold action and bold mission, and really that helps us to understand that environment and ecology can be work together and have synergies. Looking at research, there's this framework of the 3 pillars of sustainability, which consist of economic, ecology, and the social aspect. So from the economy perspective, it's clear, like without profits and the success of the economy, there is not a lot of business that we can talk about in the long run. Second, from ecology perspective, it is fact that we need a certain quality of our environment so that we are able to survive as humans. For example, like if there's a 10 degrees change of climate, this will harm us really badly. So third aspect is the social aspect, which consists the human, and that we are in society consisting of humans. So that means looking at the current discussion, we should also have in mind poverty and also fairness within our society. The important message about this framework is that these 3 pillars do not need to have a trade-off necessarily. Of course, sometimes action toward ecology can cost us money, so that is a trade-off. But a story like Interface shows us that they can also have synergies and do not need to have a trade-off. So I think that is a good framework that we should have in mind when we're discussing currently about climate change and, for example, the Green Deal in Europe. I think it's important that we do not rediscuss like the impact on climate change and say, okay, now we should focus on the economy and could neglect the ecology aspect and sustainability, because I think it's fact that we need also to have in mind that now is a good time and a chance to set the foundation towards a sustainable future. One example is, for example, the discussion about the automotive industry. So instead of, for example, setting incentives to buy combustion engines, which is based on an old business model, which might be outdated in the long run, we should rather now use the chance to set and invest in new technologies and help the automotive industry to catch up to, for example, competitors like Tesla. So I think still it's not easy, and it's really individual cases that we need to look at. but I think now we have a good time to use it, and if we allocate it wisely, I think we can set, as Stefan Helmke said, the foundation towards a more sustainable future. So what do you think? Let me know, write me a message or a comment, and I'm looking forward to hear your opinion.